Good evening. I am accepted candidate Jose Valentin from Pasco County Court. Before I start, I thank God because without Him, nothing could be possible in our life. And I thank Colonel Bernard Marta Hewitt, Major Alejandro and Linda Castillo, Captain Jay and Sherry Deaton, Colonel Judy and John Phelan, Captain Luis and Lucy Vieira, Major David and Susie Harrison, Major Rob and Carolyn Webb, and my beautiful family from Pasco County Court. All of you who support me and help me in the process to be a Salvation Army officer, thank you again. I want to share with you what the Lord did for me. I was born in Puerto Rico and grew up just with my grandparents and my mom as a part of a Catholic family. It was very difficult for me because as a child I had to work hard to help my grandfather to support my family. I feel a lot of hate and rebellion in my life, and I started doing bad things in the street. But at the age of 18, my life changed. I decided to start my career as a police officer. And when I was working as a police officer in the SWAT team, my life became an action movie where the leading actor was me. But I always had a void in my heart that I didn't know how to explain, and I could not understand. It was impossible to feel. In 1991, I was invited to the evangelical church, and when I was in the service, the pastor said to me, God have a purpose in your life. And I could not understand, and I say, that is crazy. What's going on with this pastor? God doesn't remember me. All my life I had to suffer alone without my dad, and God is going to have a purpose in my life. In 1997, one day, I was working with my squad, and we arrested one of the most dangerous drug dealers in the island. And after that, he sent somebody to kill me. And when I opened the gate of my house, a man came in the car and he hit me. And then he came over me again. And then he left. He almost killed me. When I was in the way to the hospital in the ambulance, for the first time in my life, I was very afraid to die. And I say, God, if you are real, let me see my kids growing. After that, I passed into coma. And when I arrived to the hospital, a friend of mine who was a police officer came and he asked me, if you want, you can repeat everything that I say. So I did. And this is the way that I accept Jesus in my life as the Savior. In 2004, I traveled to Florida, and the same person who abandoned me, my dad, was dying in cancer, and the Lord gave me the opportunity to ask him for accept Jesus as his Savior, and he did. In 2006, we decided to move to Florida, but in 2009, when everything looked perfect, the economy collapsed, and I lost my job. And we were in very hard situation. So we learned to depend on God. And I remember that I was doing my first garage sale, and two ladies came and asked me for the price of something. And I said, if you are looking at that for a church program, take it for free. And the lady said, no, I want to pay. And I said, if you ask me again, I take the money because I really need. And before they left, the youngest one come back, and she told me her name. Her name was Lucy. and she invited me to the Salvation Army Church in Pasco County. And I asked her, Salvation Army is a church? And she said, yes, it's a church. We never thought that, and we decided to visit the church. And when we were going through the most difficult time of our life, at such time, we could feel the hand of God right through Captain Luis and Lucy Vieira. We saw how the Salvation Army helped us in all our needs, and how they help our children. I remember when Captain Lucy Vieira came to our house with 2 boxes full of food, and I saw the glory of God because our pantry was empty. And I was in a spiritual battle because I was not sure if the Lord wanted me in the Salvation Army. And I was fighting with him. And I told him, Lord, if you know that we don't know English, how can we communicate in that score? And how we are going to grow in the church with no English. And I told my wife how I feel, and she called Captain Lucy and spoke to her. And she said, please tell your husband to go to the youth council with my husband. He's going to have a good experience there. And when I was in the youth council, I prayed and asked the Lord for a confirmation. And when I was in the youth council 2010, in the Saturday night service, they called the people to come forward. And I went to the altar. And I was in tears. And I remember when the Major John Loudon put his hand in my shoulder, and he told me, the Lord wants you in the Salvation Army. And I received the confirmation to my call. And I said, Lord, my family and I are going to serve you for the rest of our life in the Salvation Army. After that, one day we were sad because it was a summer and we don't have any money for vacation with our kids like we normally did every year. So Captain Vieira said, I want to offer to your kids the best vacation that they could ever have. And he sent my kid to Camp Keystone. Thanks God. After that, everything that Salvation Army was doing for us, I asked Captain Vieira what I can do for Salvation Army, and he said, you can be a volunteer. So I started driving the buses to Camp Keystone. In Captain Vieira, I remember in 2010 men's camp, we were sitting and he said, where do you see yourself in 3 years? And today I say, I'm here, Lord, making your will. In November of 2010, we were enrolled as a soldier by Mayor Alejandro and Melinda Castillo, who had been our mentor and teacher. They took care of us and gave us all the opportunity to grow in the Salvation Army, and also hired me and my wife to work at the Pasco Court. At this time of my life, I decided to answer the call of God and serve in the journey of a full-time ministry in Salvation Army officer. May God bless you.